Hi, we're about to start, everyone, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, my lovelies. I am getting worse and worse. I'm ever so sorry if this is loud, but I managed to clip my hair in. Okay. How are we all? I am sitting here preparing for Let's Stamp. Had a really good day today. It's been super busy. And I am going to pull you straight overhead and run through this was our last video. This was on Tuesday. Let's Stamp. No, it was a layout, wasn't it? This is today is Let's Stamp. But these are the cards we have made with Rise and Shine this month so far. And we are today going to be stamping with, this was the fun fold that we did last week. And we are going to today be stamping with the Blush and Bloom. So this was the One Sheet Wonder. So lots of cards there as inspiration. All of the videos are on live replay, so you can mute me and speed me up if you want, so that you can get the technique, the tip or the inspiration from there. So that's from Rise and Shine, the Blush and Bloom. We did stamping on our first, stenciling on our first. I'm going to get my words right. I'll take a moment. Okay. We did stenciling in our first video and we did a few different techniques, which I didn't turn all into cards yet. I did take one of them in that video because it didn't feel right doing techniques and not making cards from it. So we have actually got two that we turned into cards. We have the One Sheet Wonder, which yielded 4. We have the Fun Fold from last week. That was this time last week. It was last Thursday evening. And then Tuesday, these were the two that I made following the layout sketch. So, and it's oddly, it worked out that all three were the favourites, all of them. We did a poll and we asked which of the 3 cards that we made were the best, and we were told there was an equal split. So everybody, this is the stamp set that comes in the Blush and Bloom. So we're going to make a couple, possibly 3, depending on how time goes, cards using this stamp set. Now, these are glorious because these are great for colouring, or they're great for heat embossing just as is, or for just stamping or creating backgrounds with, whatever it is you fancy. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the cardstock. Now, this is our alcohol marker friendly cardstock. This comes in the kit. So you get a very large sheet. I don't have my guillotine in here. And I can tell you why I don't have my guillotine, which is fun. It's right, I've got another trimmer. Oh, that's gonna knock everything down. My tidy workspace. So I don't tend to use this one very often because I'm too mean to constantly swap the blades over on it. Now, right, 5.5 by 4.25. That's where we want it. Let's hope this cuts without leaving fur. This is perfect if you're good at, oh, I must have changed the blade on it. Right, okay. Better keep that out, in fact, hadn't I? I'll use my small chomper now. We had the big guillotine out in the living room because Liam and I were trying to design our booth for Carnival. We had the smallest booth available and we ended up realising that it's just not going to work. It's too small. So we've had to go for a bigger one, and then that involved having to work out how we're going to lay it out. Oh, have I got no lead left in here? No, I have. Thank goodness. We would like for some things to work out. Right. So we've got 2 card panels now. I'm going to be really good and at this point ask you if you could please like this video. I will ask again later on, but I just have seen it coming up there. So I thought, yes, I'll quickly say, please like this video if you enjoy it and if you enjoy me. And even if you don't, I'd still be really grateful. Now, let's stamp. I'm going to use the basket. I've already used the blooms in one, but I really want to stamp the basket. Now, there are so many different ways to design a card. Obviously, we've been doing layouts, which is super fun because you're given an idea of something and then you just run with it. You create something that looks like that and then you move it either forward or backward, or you adapt it so that it suits the products that you have and the style that you carry. But this card, I have the circle dies left on my desk because I was really good at putting them away from when we were playing on Tuesday. And I like this, and then I'm going to have a look that we are going to send with love and flowers. Sending sunshine, thanks a bunch, riding spring petals and petals. I think with love and flowers is going to be really nice straight underneath here. And I'm going to taper that in. Oh, we're going to hide it. I know how we're going to do this. Yes. Right. I'm going to need a card base. Thankfully, I've just chopped one. And a scoreboard. So, when making a card, I often try to start off by making the base. I prefer a top fold. It is a personal preference. It's whatever you like the best. Top folds are nice because they photograph nice and easily. Now, at this point, we could use a coloured card base, and that would look really nice as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the yellow that came in the kit to mix this up a little bit. So, as I just did, pop these over to one side. Going to cut this at 4 1/4. Yes, as I was saying, my guillotine is in the living room because Liam and I were working out how we are going to arrange our booth. On one hand, it's really exciting, and then on the other hand, it's really quite scary because I've never done a booth. The closest I've done was at Stamp Junkies. And I just took peel offs. That was all, because it was in the States and I didn't really know what I was doing. And if I hadn't have had such a glorious bunch of ladies with me, that would have been a significant fail because I would not have managed by myself. Now, okay, so I've picked the yellow. I have my card base. This piece can actually go away now after all of that. I am going to cut an 1/8 of an inch off of either edge so that we get a nice frame. Now, this is quite tricky to measure an 1/8 on this tiny chomper, and my big chomper, as we have discovered, is in the living room. So I'm going to measure with a pencil on my craft mat. I apologise that this is off screen for you, but I have to have the tight measurements are right at the bottom. So I am taking off an 1/8 of an inch from from both top and the side. There we go. They can go away. And now, when I sit this atop my card base, it's got a really lovely little white border. So, I am now going to position. Whenever I think of tulips, I think of pink. Now, and because of obviously the collection, Blush and Bloom is pink and green, we're going to be going off of the colour palette here. So I'm going to die cut from this panel where I think this is going to look really nice. So it's going here, which means we will pop this. Now Liam's just walked out. What do you think the odds are that he's unplugged my die cut machine? Oh, I spoke too soon. He's been a real hero today. I'm going to only speak about this whilst he's not in here because he'll get a big head. But I have been searching high and low for the last 2 weeks for a magazine. And it's almost got to the point that it's upsetting how much time and effort I have put into trying to find this magazine. And it has been 2 weeks, and on one day, it was one Saturday, I think I went into maybe 13 shops all in one day, just driving around the town. And today he comes home and he's found it. So he is in the good books, but we can't talk about that now because he's back in the room. And we don't want him getting a big head. Right. So I have now die cut this circle. Oh, and he's brought the guillotine. Oh, he's a lad, isn't he? Thank you, dear. Let's pop that out though, so it doesn't. There we go. Right, I'm going to take my Misty. Of course, he's brought me a glass of water, which is lovely, but it's also something I'm going to tip over, isn't it? He puts it next to the camera that's on the boom that I bang into at least 3 times throughout any given live. Can't blame him for my clumsy, I suppose. Right, now the yellow I have got perfectly centred within my card frame. It's a bit tricky to see, but it's there. Now I can make sure that where my stamp is exactly where I want it to be. And now that I'm happy it is, I can take the yellow out and I'm going to stamp directly onto my card base. Now, at this point, it's making a decision of heat emboss, stamp, colour, and then if it's colour, it's alcohol, watercolour, pencils. So we've got a lot of options. We've got a lot of decisions to make. And we have yellow, so that needs to be kept in mind as well. We have got some really lovely colours. And I think what I might do, just to be a little bit different, because I have got regular inks, blacks and things that you would usually use when stamping something for colouring. But I think on this one, I'm actually going to use a brown. I think brown and yellow, I think that's going to look really quite nice. So I'm going to use Vintage Photo, I think, if I can lay my hands on it without too much of a... Oh my gosh, it was the first one I pulled. That's always lovely. I have actually got labels coming for the side of these. You're all going to miss me having to scrabble around trying to find my my inks, aren't you? Right. Okay. So let's move that out of the way. That's it. So yes. So now I've got my guillotine back, which is nice. Thank you, dear. Right. This is the first time I'm using this stamp, so I'm going to give it a really good tappity tap tap. Make sure it's got lots on. And it's the reason I'm also using the stamp positioner because it's on a card front. This isn't something that I want to mess up and then have to fix later on. Now, I'm going to just give that a nice press. Oh, it's very pretty. And then I'm going to go again, more so in the middle. The oxides are not designed for stamping with, they're designed for blending. Oh gosh, tweezers. Otherwise I'll have inky fingers immediately. Little bit of ink pad there. Yeah, these are designed for blending and for water reactive activities, which we could make the most of. But let's, before I close that, gosh, that would be typical, wouldn't it? After saying I'm using the MISTI so that I don't mess up my card bases. Right. When it comes to a card base, it's not quite so easy to just flip it over and use the back, is it? So, okay. I am going to call that done. I'm going to let that dry. Let's give stamp a little wipe. Okay, so what is everybody up to this fine Thursday evening, other than joining yours truly, of course? Okay, I got all distracted getting ready because my magazine turned up. I didn't eat dinner as early as I should have done. It all went out the window. Okay, so I've stamped and we now have our lovely basket of blooms in the middle of this panel. Now, I have a decision to make. I am going to decorate this, and it's how do I decorate it? Do I want to stamp using the brown to tie in the brown of the inner? Do I want to use Versamark, or do I want to use a combination of both? Do I want to use, or do I want to heat emboss them? So many ones. Right, letting that dry, and I think we're going to colour the tulips yellow. And I know we can just gently loosen the brown, which will show you the water reactive properties. Have I got a, oh dear, I have got a paintbrush that's full of water in the end. How am I going to do this? Take that end off. Oh gosh, sorry about this, everybody. The kittens may have been in here at some point. I'm going to blame them. So let's get the water back in the paintbrush rather than in the lid, she says, over her desk, live on camera as well. This is asking for it, isn't it? In you go. Okay, so now we have water back in water brush. Okay, it's lovely when the tools are ready for use, isn't it? Now, let's do this. I'm going to pull you on the close up. Now, this is a water reactive ink. I've got a wet brush and it's only very slightly wet. I hope you can see. One of the reasons I like a water brush is it controls the flow. So I am just very loosely in spots going to use the tip of my water brush to loosen some of that brown, particularly at the edges. I don't mind a little bit in the middle, but the more I do at the edge, the darker it will appear. And because of shadow and shape, we want it to appear a bit darker around the edges and then a bit paler in towards the middle. And by doing sort of little strokey lines, we're going to get that lovely wicker effect. Now, because I was lazy, I've left my stamp in my MISTI. This does mean that I can do this, let it dry, and then stamp over the top again. So if I bleed out too much of my ink and it looks a bit washed out, then I can just re-stamp over the top again. But just dragging it in from the edges, making sure that I've got a really nice brown finish here. And if I want more brown, eek, messy mat, get my ink, press a bit of ink onto my messy mat, and then I can lift it up with my brush and introduce that along the edge as well. And that will also give it just that little bit more depth along either of those edges. But as you can see, I'm not any big watercolorist. I do enjoy the properties of the oxides. So I also must hasten to add, this is not a watercolor cardstock. If I put too much water on this base, it will bubble up. So that's something to keep in mind. But let's add a little bit of extra brown along the bottom here as well, just to help give it a bit of shape, just to make it look that little bit more 3D. So I must ask you all, is my audio okay? Because my headphones require charging, and I went to a crop last weekend, and I always take my headphones as a safety measure. And because my headphones weren't charged, I stole the ones out of here. So Liam hasn't actually been able to check my audio today. So if anybody could confirm that everything sounds okay from your end, I'd be very grateful. I'm just going to go round the little handle here, just touching my brush in that, because this is, you do need a very fine detail brush because these handles are super detailed, delicate, but I think that's really going to help. Audio is great, fabulous. Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate that. And the only reason I'm asking is because it was my fault. If Liam had left the headphones somewhere else, I wouldn't have asked. Your problem. Right. Okay, so I've now added the tiniest bit of ink, as you could see. But yeah, my basket is now 3D'd. And the easiest way to clean one of these brushes is to give it a bit of a squeeze, because then a water droplet will come through if there's enough water in it, and then that sort of, the water pushing through it will clean it out. So there we go. That is ready to fight another day, as is the messy mat. So I think that looks really cute, actually. I'm very pleased with that. So if I want to colour the tulips yellow, I need to do it with alcohol or with pencils, because if I do anything water-based, then they're going to bleed. So we don't want that. So let's grab a couple of yellows. Ooh, there we go. I really like the super soft colours, so I'll go with Y1.1 and Y1.2, which are ginger and light yellow. And I organised these the other day so that I would be able to access what it was I needed nice and quickly. So I'm going to do this very gently and with very minimal colour, because I don't want it to bleed through to the inside of my card. Alcohol markers by nature wants to bleed through, just because there is a lot of colour and the starkness of them wants to just jump through the page there. So I'm just going to very quickly put a light smattering of yellow onto the tulips, and then I'm going to go back with the darker one and just go around the edges and the bottom side where they are most likely to have a lack of light, And all that's going to do is encourage a bit of shape, but that is it. That's all I'm doing. There is a slight amount of bleed through to the inside, but not enough that I'm worried. So they are, in case you are an Olo fan, Y1.1 and Y1.2. I'll pop those back, and now I'm going to do the same thing with the leaves. And oh gosh, upside down. I'm going to go with these two, sugar pea and green bean, because I don't want it. I mean, I love these greens. These are my sort of teal greens, but I think these are more. Oh no, perhaps that's better actually. I'm going to go with YG 2.3 and YG 2.5. That's muscat grape and avocado. So 2.3 and 2.5. So again, with the lightest first, I'm just going to kiss the leaves with this one, just so that there's a little bit of colour added, and also slightly on the stalks. So tiny weeny bit there. And then on the undersides and around the edge, just to add a bit of depth so that it doesn't look just like flat colouring. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just fill in some of those white gaps. Okay, so YG 2.3 and YG 2.5. Let's pop those back the right way round after the painstaking effort I went to get those in the right order. Right, so now my little stamped basket, I think that looks really pretty. It's very simple. There was nothing complicated about that at all. And then, so when we pop this over the top, that all starts to match now. I do feel like I want to put a frame around this, and I don't have any brown, but we can fix that. So, oh gosh, I've got trimmers everywhere now. I'm just going to give that to you for a minute so that I've got some space to breathe. Now, the die that we used to cut this one is here, this size. And then I want to add yes, I know what we're going to do. Okay, so this was the die cut used. Pretty, it's almost going to look like a porthole frame. So what I need to do is I need to find this one in this style. They're well loved here. Sorry about this, everyone. And I think, no, it's the next one up from that. So what you do is you look at the cut lines, and the cuts, if I bring you in on a close-up, this is the outer stitched die. The cut line is here, and then you have the stitching around the edge. Now these are the standard ones. These are the ones that I've used for years, and they create the traditional shape with the stitched on the inside. Now, this has now got a partner with our outer stitched dies, meaning that it would cut exactly the same circle, but it will pop a stitched line on the outside of the cut. So what I'm going to do is I've got outer stitched and inner stitched, two of. Explaining it is probably more complicated than just doing it, so I'm going to just do it. Vintage photo, because that was what we stamped in. We're going to get a blending brush, which Liam's going to pass me because I've knocked them out of my pot. Thank you very much, dear. On the underside is where I tend to keep my foamies. One of these days I'm going to come to one of these foamies and it's going to be all deteriorated because I've had them for a very long time, and It's super, super, super dry here now. I say here now. Since we've moved, it's very dry. So this is just our alcohol marker friendly cardstock again. And we are using vintage photo. And I am just going to colour the cardstock very gently. I can obviously swipe the ink pad across if I wanted to really get an intense, deep feel to it. But I actually don't want a completely perfectly smooth piece of cardstock. I want there to be a bit of texture to it. I want there to be a little bit of something, something. I don't want it to just look like brown cardstock, otherwise I could find brown cardstock. It's nice to keep things feeling handmade. There's a difference between handmade and homemade, I think. And adding just a little bit. There we go. So now, as you can see, when I die cut this piece, pop that back on there for now. When I die cut, there's going to be, I'm going to have a big brown circle that I'll have to work out what I'm doing with, but that can be another day's problem. Now, at this point, we clean the mat. This is all the stuff that usually gets edited out when you watch one of these lovely little short videos that's blip, 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 and then you've got a card in your hand, which I think are wonderful. I enjoy creating shorts, but if what you want is to work out a creative process, you need to watch and see how many times I knock things and say, oh gosh, in a video. Shows we're all human, doesn't it? Right, so let's pop this on here. Now this is a magnet, which makes this part so much easier. If you don't have a magnet, let's work as if you don't have a magnetic base, because I only recently got one. So if you don't have magnets, I am going to work on the basis that you're as careful as I am about your tape. Now this is good seasoned painter's tape, almost not sticky anymore. And what you do is you lay one of your dies down and then commit, tape it down. In fact, tape it in 2 spots, because maybe not quite so well seasoned. Also bear in mind that my paper will still be inky, it will be damp, because it takes a little while for all of this pigment to dry. But you tape down your die, and then the next one you move around, you play with until it's in the right spot, and then you tape over all of them. Because if you try to lay one down and then lay the other one down, you'll get one perfect and then the other one will move, and it will be like Laurel and Hardy, to me, to you, to me, to you. Tape one, then tape the other one. So, okay. I feel like I've missed an idea. What's the idea, Nedra? I've looked up and just seen everyone saying, I love that idea. What's the idea? Stick on Velcro onto your ink bottom. You know what? I think that's a really good idea. Rather than my bit of, I mean, to be fair, I'll probably use this piece of painter's tape for the next 5 or 6 years. We all know what I'm like, but yes, that definitely does make sense as to being a really good way to not lose them, because I really like the sponges. I know the brushes are great, and I know that there's domes and all sorts of things, but the original sponge, I think it's brilliant. And I'm happy, I'm sticking with it. I'll use a brush if I can't find any sponges, but other than that, pew! Other than that, these are good. Now, nearly there. So, now we can peel off all of my lovely tape and save it forever for another day. And you can just pop the lovely little frame that we have created out. And because we used innie and outie, how cool does that look? And obviously if you do this with silver mirror, then it looks like a porthole. But let me put my things away first. I'm getting all ahead of myself. I haven't got my space. Let me get my space. So, here we go. This lined up is going to sit really nicely, and then I'm going to just frame the edge here, and I think that looks really, really pretty. So, at this point, I am going to have a very cursory look at my brown pens because gathered twigs will do the job, I think. Let's just check. It's been a while since I've used this. Ooh, it's not got quite the brush tip that I was hoping for, but that will work. So now I am going to, because it's wicker basket, I am just going to dab on a few little lines. Now this is a different brown to vintage photograph. This is a slightly darker one, and all I'm doing is just some very flicky little lines. I don't want to take anything away from the centre, but I'm just giving a little bit of personality, and I'm making all the lines go in the same direction, almost like a wicker basket would. Little dashy sort of lines. And if you've got like a wood grain die, that would work as well. Trying to think what else, or a stencil, a wood grain stencil. We've got Into the Woods, but that's for larger trees, isn't it? He's not looking at me, he's not listening, I don't think. He tries his best not to listen, I think. Zones out. It's probably best. Our relationship probably does better for that. But anyway, right, I'm nearly there, nearly done. Oh, and what this has allowed me to do is see that I have the tiniest bit of painter's tape in my stitching there. So I can poke that out. That is one of the hazards of using a masking tape. Right, okay. So now if I put that on, I think that's going to look really nice. Very pleased with that. I will just hint. Now this coloured cardstock's fabulous, but it's not designed for absorbing ink. So with a very, very gentle hand in a circular motion, I'm just going to tease a little bit of colour. I'm going to have to load it up a little bit. This is a very risky endeavour again, but I'm going to hope for the best. Very, very gently. Now I know my frame is going to go over the top, but just a teasing of colour, shall we say, so that when that goes on, it's just not flat yellow. That's all I wanted, and I'm going to do the same around the edges as well. It's been a long time since I've been all inky and stampy like this. It's good fun. I think so often I see pattern paper and I get all excited and I have to use it. And when you're doing that, you're not creating the patterns yourself all the time. And stamping as well, of course, is like making your own ephemera, isn't it? So I think using the stamps is it's a slower made card, and I see out of the corner of my eye Liam's eyes roll. We're going to be here for even longer tonight, dear. Perhaps 3 cards was a bit of a stretch. Maybe we'll stick to 2. Right. So let's pop that back down. Of course, now I've got largely more ink on the mat than I have on the card front, but I'm still really happy about that. That is how I was hoping this would go. So, and I honestly cannot tell you the last time that I made a yellow and brown card. So let's have a look. Okay, let's pop that on there now. And we'll pop this on here. Oh, it's all starting to take a bit of shape, isn't it? It's all starting, by adding that blending on the cardstock, I haven't taken away from the yellow, but I've just tied it all together a bit. So let's add the most finite amount of glue around our little fake wooden frame. We'll get that attached on because that's not... At this point, of course, as well, if you wanted to make this a shaker card, put this onto the acetate and then cut around and stick down. I don't want to make this one a shaker card. I want this to be all about the stamping. Oh gosh. All about the stamping, not about the gluing. Don't anyone look at my gluing. So, I'm going to acrylic block it to hold it down. Block, block. Here we go. You can sit over there for a minute. And now I'm going to decide what we're going to do with the rest of this. And I think I was umming and ahhing over keeping it all light and airy, but I think we are going to stamp in the vintage photograph, all of the lovely pretty butterflies. We've got 4 different sizes here, so I'll get them all ready and prepared. And we've also got our sentiment. Now, this is the next part. Do we want to sentiment strip the sentiment, or do we want to stamp directly onto the panel? I think, I'm not sure. So, I would like for you to decide, do I do a strip or do I stamp straight onto the panel there? Whilst we are deciding, I am going to start loading up my stamps. Now, how I stamp my weenie ones is I start with the largest and then to the next one, and I put 2 on a block at a time. And I think we are good. I think that is stuck. So yes, sentiment. Are we sentiment stripping or are we going to stamp straight on? Okay. Because that determines where we go next. Now I'm just going to test my butterfly. You can all move over here for a minute. Oh, it's all getting a little bit much. Right. Vintage photo still. Just see how we're going to look. Oh, that's very pretty. But maybe we should just stick to the small ones. I think we're going to stick to the smaller ones. I think that's a little bit big for what I want today. Okay, it looks as though what is a chase? Is that a term for something that I'm unfamiliar with? Because I really would like to know. Please, please. I am a polite person, I promise. When I get intrigued, it gets the better of me. I think we're going to stick with just the tiny weeny ones, both of the littlest. And I'm going to go with a strip. Now here are some I made earlier. I want the skinniest of strips, ideally. And I think that's going to be it. Now, because the background of the card is white, I think that having it in white will look really pretty. So I'm going to stamp in brown. If I can find my blocks, I've just put them somewhere safe. There they are. Now, we're going to take a risk. We're going to go just straight in and stamp. Now with a sentiment, I am going to line that up on one of the lines on my grid. So using my thumb, getting the oils in my fingers will help. And then I should have Versamark here somewhere. Liam, have you hidden it? It looks like this, but it's not white lid, it's got black lid. He's hidden it, hasn't he? You wait any minute, I'll go, oh, there it is. See, I found it. Right next to me. Right, Versamark also really helps when it's a brand new stamp. It makes it really good and sticky. So, not going to hurt anything anywhere. So I have made it all sticky, and now when I put it into the oxide, the ink not only wants to go on because it's being stamped on, but the Versamark is making it stick, and it doesn't hurt my ink pad at all. Now I've got a really lovely solid coating there. I'm going to do my level best to keep my head out of the way, but I'm not making any promises. Oh, right way up. And I am going to just stamp this down. I'm going to resist the urge to roll it back and forth and left and right. Just give it a nice press, giving the ink an opportunity to transfer as well, because that's the other thing. It's not a like they do in the post office. We are stamping pretty here. Everyone cross your fingers, please. No one knows. Did it work? Did it work? It worked. Hurrah. Okay. And it's a really pretty font. I really like this one. It's very clear, but still nice, and just not boring. Anyhow, right, now, just to take a little bit of the white away, I'm going to drag just along the edge the softest of hints. I'm going to do that on both sides, and I'm going to pull you on the close-up. I think Liam, when he gets bored, taking the mickey out of me. So this is the brilliant white, and now this is just with the slightest hint. If I put some white behind, you'll see the difference. There you go. So it's just a smudge, but what that does is it takes away that harshness. And then, doubles up as a banjo as well. Right. No banjos were harmed in the making of this card. Now, so we are here, so we can, or we could connect over the front. That looks quite cute. We could go right through the basket and have it float. Or you can have it come in from the bottom and chop the sides. There's, play. I can't remember who it was. Someone said, "Oh, we audition our sentiments." I think so, and I think that's a lovely way to put it. I've picked my sentiment, but I need to audition where it sits and how to trim it, which was why I popped it not quite in the middle, but so that I've got the option I can slice this end off, or I can fishtail it, or whatsoever suits. But I do like that. I'm not going to stick my sentiment down because it's not going to be on this yellow piece. I feel like I'm well within my rights to do some stamping. So I'm going to stamp my butterflies. I'm going to go use the two smaller ones just so that they don't take away from what's in the middle. And I'm going to start with the bigger. I will always, when I'm creating sort of a background, go with the biggest, because it's much easier to fill in gaps than it is to try and create them. So, single stamp. And then I'm going to do second generation stamping as well, so that we get a different intensity. And I'm going to do that a few times. And now I'll put this one up here, going right towards the edge, and this one going off the edge. One there. And then the second generation is going to come off the side here. Keep trying to twist, make sure that you're not all facing the same way. And now I'm going to flip over and I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to stamp my tiny butterfly in full strength ink. And then I'm going to come off here and do that second generation. Second generation is not re-inking in between, like stamping off, I think it's sometimes referred to. But this is the first generation stamp, and then this is the second. And it just adds a bit of depth with only one ink pad, which is really nice. Keep twisting and turning, just so that they don't all look the same as well. Right, I'm going to cool that for a minute, because let's see how we're looking. Oh, this is looking cute. And I think I'm going to add my sentiment down here. I don't want to cover up. I very rarely do stamping and colouring, so I don't really want to cover that all over. So now I'm going to pop some of my, oh, ever so handy. This is getting handy sized actually now. We are getting there. You've all helped me work through it. Now, it goes without being said, but I'm going to cover the back, but not where the hole is. So, oh, that's a bit of rubbish, that can go away. Easiest way to do this, I'm going to support all of the edges. That's the first and foremost. So edge, edge. Now this is skinnier than what I have. So I am going to trim in half. Loose. That's a loose definition of half when the cutting is that crooked. Oh, not quite. Just a hair's breadth. Too much there. Right. Now, let's put that there. I'm going to run down the sides. Can't cut straight and can't stick straight today, it would seem. Now, take this. I'm going to cut in half again. This is only 1 mil thick. This is a really shallow lift. Historically, I would have always picked out the deepest of lifts because I was like, yeah, the more dimension, the better. And in some regards, I think that's lovely. But also, if you're popping these through the post, you want just that tiny lift because the lift gives it a bit of glamour, gives it a bit of class. And it's interesting. You don't find many shop bought cards that have 3D aspects. So again, it just will make your card that little bit different when it's on the mantelpiece. So right now, released all of the release paper. Now I have given myself the tiniest of borders to work with here. And the way that I find it easiest, particularly when you've got a whole piece of adhesive, is looking at 2 corners. Now I can do it this way, but then it's got the opportunity to be really crooked. Whereas because this is the longest edge, if this is in the right spot, it's more likely that everything else will be straight. So I'm going to look from this aspect. I should probably, as if I'm sitting like you, I'm looking at it here, this bit, But I will twist it slightly because I think it makes it a bit easier for you guys on camera, and I'm sort of peering from the outside. And I am trying to make sure that the gap at the top, bottom and side is equal. Good enough. Possibly a little bit too close here compared to here, but I'm taking it. So now we have that stuck down, and I think what we do is we angle. I think we just chop. It's very scientific. Do a snip. Don't want that to be white on the end there. So we'll just give that a little encouragement with love and flowers. And I think maybe like that. Looks good. Now, usually I'm a firm my rule, and then by snipping, because I want to ink. One to go right to the end on either side. If you're worried about your little corner, then you can pop a piece behind that, but I think we are golden. Now I'm going to do the same thing again, and I'll use my tweezers so that I haven't got my hands in the way to show you. Tweezers in between the glue, and now I am looking at this edge, because this is the bit that I want to have line up with the yellow, and I want it to be straight, and it's the easiest line to look at is this line here. So it's not blinging yet, is it, people? How do we bling it? What should we bling? Problem is, I've had so much fun with this kit. I've pulled it all apart and I've put different bits in different spots now. So don't be like me. Be organised and tidy. Keep your items all together. Ha! Here we go. So we have got the little silver gems, which are really cute. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go off piste a little bit, and I'm going to use a wink of Stella. Because this is also somewhat water reactive, so it will just loosen that little bit of brown within the butterfly wings and make it just a tiny weeny bit sparkly. But don't overwork it, because then you'll lose the detail on your really cute little butterflies. And all you're wanting to do is just to sparkle them somewhat. Loosen up the brown and make them glimmer. And then I think I'm going to call this card completed. Just a little touch. We don't want to take from the centre. There we go. I'm calling her done. With love and flowers and sparkly butterflies. Okay, how long did that take, dear? How much trouble am I in? It was an hour. But it's a very pretty card though. Okay, right, so I'm gonna pop that one there. And Liam is going to show you the kit on the website while I take a mouthful of water. No pressure, dear. Anytime, you know. Curious to see how long 3 cards will take. Doreen, on Tuesday I'm trying 10 cards, 1 kit, so that'll be real good fun for you. Right. So, our Blush and Bloom kit is shipping, because we have shipped all of our subscribers. There we go. So the pitiful excuse that you saw that remained of mine just then this is what you are getting. You get the stamps, you get the papers, the ephemera. It's all really, really pretty. We've got lots of lovely inspiration. I'm still not done. Still got lots to go. So yeah, have a look. See whether or not it's something that interests you. I need my big guillotine now, please, sir. Okay. Mary says she's amazed at how the butterflies made the card. Thing is, Mary, it's the tiny bits, it's the tiny details, isn't it? I do agree with you. But they don't take from it, and that's the important bit. Right, so chopping this at 4 1/4, or at least going to have a solid try. Okay, so let's pop eek. Right. Sorry, the eek was the angle. That guillotine's quite heavy. When you hold it just by the handle and you're holding your arm out straight, I need to do some more activities beyond just card making. I need to move a bit. I don't move very much anymore, apart from the chair to the next chair. Okay, so card base. I am going to do some die cutting. And I think we're going to use yellow again because we've got it on the desk. Yes, we are. We're going to use yellow. I'm going to have a little look at the pattern papers because I do so like, oh, we've also got the stencil. I must not forget the lovely stencil. I've really enjoyed using that this month. So let's have a look. Oh, I do love this one. That's very pretty. And it's got a nice bit of yellow in as well, which was, oh, that's got a pretty yellow. I think I prefer the soft. Oh, and we've got the tulips. No, I think we're going to go here. We are going to go here. We are going to cover the card base. Oh, I can't quite decide now. Yes, we're going to cover the card base. So we need to make this piece of paper 5.5 by 4 1/4. In fact, I'm going to do the same measurements as I did on the previous one. So, pencil and a ruler. And the ruler the right way up is always a good start. So, make sure I have the paper the correct orientation. I do. We are going to mark at not 4 1/4, but at 4 1/8. That's where we want to cut. So we'll do that at 4 1/8. Couldn't have done it at the top or the bottom where I could line it up, would I? Apologies, everyone. Best of intentions. But so 4. I have to hang the ruler off of the edge of my grid mat to make sure that I'm doing this straight, because otherwise I'll be really cross. So 4 1/8. Just draw the line. And then we need to measure from the bottom up, not to 5 1/2, but to 5 3/8. And you know how much trouble I have? This ruler is incredible because it tells you, I mean, there's a lot of numbers on there, but on the close-up, if you're like me and you're a little bit special when it comes to measurements, this ruler is the answer. I have it on my desk the whole time. You'd think I'd use it. No. Right, so let's cut that in. Lovely. And then we're going to just chop off that little piece at the top, which now, incidentally, is perfectly sized to pop on the inside at the bottom if I want to make the card matchy-matchy. There's not much else that you can use that strip for unless you're doing a strip card. Now, this piece of paper can play another day. This one is, yes, lovely. Just leaving a white border around the edge of that really lovely pattern paper. Bless you, dear. Going to messy match. Bless you. It's not much fun when you have to sneeze when you've got the cameras rolling. Oh, you see, this one hasn't got a sponge, and since we've moved, I haven't actually located my sponges. So I will use a brush. This should be clean, but just in case, just wipe this on a microfiber cloth. You can come away. And I'm just going to use sponge sugar. It doesn't show up particularly well on camera for you guys, so I do apologise, but I am just encouraging, as I did with the brown. I'm not quite so worried about how heavy my hand is because this is a lovely pale colour. It's very, very forgiving. You're unlikely to get those really big, nasty smudges that you run the risk of when you use a darker tone. But there we go, smudge, or just all around the edges. You can use stitched rectangle dies. They give a really nice finish. I like the edges having an edge to them. Right, so now, very quick. That one needs cleaning, that goes in the pot. I will wipe this ever so quick and we will see if I can get that pink to show for you on the camera. We will try. So, on the close-up, I don't think, I mean, you may be able to notice like a hint that that isn't white. Perhaps actually, if we put it onto white, it shows up beautifully for me, but anyhow, I have dragged a little bit of pink in from the edges just to make that look more focused. And I am going to actually stick this directly onto my card front. I'm going to do it now so that we are engaged. One of the best things since getting this glue is the brayer, because no one likes glue worms appearing in their papers. So I keep clean brayer, and it just makes the glue behind smooth out really nicely. And that now has got a really lovely stick. Okay, let's just do one more in the hope that, because often when I tilt towards me, it's probably showing more so here. You'll have to rely on the photographs of the card, I'm afraid, everyone. Right, now what I would like to do is use my bicycle. I think there was a song that my mum used to really like about enjoying riding a bicycle. They really went to town with the lyrics on that one, but it's now stuck in my head, so I don't sing it in case it does the same to everybody else. Right, on the windowsill, dear, I have an arch. Could you please pass it over? Now, arches, on almost all of my cards, I do this way up. Not on this card. Thank you, dear. Oh, I don't think I need that one after all. Is that the only one there? I am going to... Okay. Timber! Thank you. I don't want that one either. It's too big. Thank you, though. Right. So, the arches sit perfectly within each other. Our stitched arches, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arches in our stitched arch set, and they're so super pretty. And we are going to stamp onto some white. Let me, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Where's my, here it is. I want to ride my bicycle. No, not that bit, not big enough. This bit. How lovely would it be? Oh, have I got it stuck in yet? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. That really wasn't intentional. Okay. I am going to use the yellow as threatened with that one. And then this one I'm going to use with my bicycle. We'll call it a bike going forward, just so that nobody else gets it stuck. I should really put away my butterflies and my sentiments. Oh my goodness, this is getting all out of hand. Let's put these away before there's some sort of butterfly gate, which no one needs in their life. And I've still got the basket of flowers in the Misty. That's poor show, isn't it? Sorry, everyone. Okay, now this lovely big bike with two lots of flowers, not one, two. And what I want to do, have a quick look at the sentiments. Ride into spring seems like a really good idea, or petals and petals and pedals. It's going to be one of those. And I was thinking that I am going to stamp so that we die cut through the bike. Because we could do a sideways one, we could get the whole bike in, but I actually quite like the idea of just having a part of the bicycle. And I'm going to stamp this in the pink. And I'm just going to really hope that you guys can see it. So, conditioning. Hand rubbing, Versamark inking, and I'm being really liberal. This is a lovely juicy little ink cube. I love an ink cube. They're really convenient for me to lose on my desk, but it also means I don't have to put them away. Okay, so I've given that a really good liberal Versamarking. And now sponge sugar. I bring the ink to the stamp. It's a preference thing. I don't think that there is a right or a wrong, but I find it easier to move the stamp around, especially with the oxide inks, because they're not a flat pad. I'm not quite sure if you pick up on that there, but they've got a bit of shape to them because they're like a felt. Well, no, they're linen, aren't they? They're linen pads, these ones. Getting a good connection, you may have to just use the one edge, and you don't want to drag it because then you'll get stripes. But if I stamp this here, I'm going to give it a nice press. Okay, now that has stamped really nicely. Close up, please dear. I think we should, oh, only just, but it has stamped really well. I'm really pleased with that. So let's clean that. I'm gonna let this dry for a moment. The other way, if you want it to dry quicker before you put it through your die cut machine, is heat. Pop a bit of heat on it. That will help. But I think what we do is we die cut like this, so that the front of the bike is in the centre, and we're just trimming off the back wheels. I think that's going to look really pretty. And then we can stamp our sentiment after the fact. We're going to die cut this piece as well. In fact, let's add just a hint of trellis on the back, just a little bit. Let's get that messy mat back. Let's tape it down. I'm going to sneak a bit of water. Thank you, dear. Right. So, there's my needs to be cleaned brush. Pleased I didn't make the effort in between. And pink on yellow. The nice thing about the oxides is they are quite opaque if you really build them up. So I am, as I have done in many of the recent cards, not going to go to town with how much ink I'm laying down. I just want there to be a hint. Most of this piece of yellow will be covered as well, so this is just a lovely. That's really pretty. I've got this really nice chalky, pinky design now. Pop that back in to be washed. This can go here. Tell you what would be nice is if I had a messy mat station, a die cut station, the craft mat, all in lines with all the different cameras, and then that way I wouldn't have to tidy up after each one. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, so we're going to die cut this, and we're going to die cut this. Let's get the mat. So, here we go. Multiple mess stations. He's cheeky, isn't he? Right. Going to do my best to make sure that the trellis is straight within. I don't want it on an angle like that. I want it. I mean, I could. No, I do like it this way. And I am not putting it straight. I'm putting it on the angle that is intentional. It's kinder to the rollers rather than having one whole great big edge to jam down. And I'm going to do the same with the bicycle. Going to leave a nice healthy border, not an unhealthy one, around the bike. And I'm looking at this edge. Similar distance here to similar distance here. And that's where I'm going to position, and I'm going to work as if my bicycle is flat. So yes, like that. So let's get these through. So that can go in. You know what I realised that I've missed here was grounding my basket, which is really unlike me. So, just as soon as this is die cut, we're going to fix that because that's not acceptable. So what I'm going to do is grab a couple of very pale greys. Yeah, we will go with cool grey 1 and cool grey 3. 1. I am just going to pop just a little smudge around the bottom, and I'm remembering that this is my card base. I don't want the grey to bleed through because I've put too much down. So just a little bit like that. And then with the cool grey 3, I'm just going to go even tighter to the base of the basket, just to add a little bit more depth. Pull it out a little bit sides, because otherwise your basket looks like it's floating, doesn't it? So we now have got a grounded basket. There we go. It's the tiniest of things, but I just looked up and saw that and thought, oh, that won't do. We can't have that. So, crisis averted. We have a grounded basket. So, can go over there and get dealt with later. 2 arches. And now, let's get these out of the way. So, now when I lay these on, because they are nested, they will go like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trim the top off, because I'm going to sit these right up at the top of my card, like that. Yes. I'm also going to get my little water brush. I'm going to loosen up some of this pink, just within the bike frame. You can do this with a pink pencil if you'd rather. And you only want the lightest of amount of water, because you don't want to make the card swell. Not going to play ball with me. Okay. It's very pale to be working with anyhow. So let's get these together. The most important thing, as far as I'm concerned, is keeping that edge equal. And I'm going to stick this one directly onto... No, I'm not going to use foam tape. Change my mind. Sorry if that was loud, everyone. I'm getting tired now. Right. Let's pop the tape back here. I know that I'm going to be trimming some of this at the top off. But once it's stuck down... Now, also at this point, if you don't have a stamping positioner, stop. Stamp your sentiment. I'm going to cheat because we have got a stamping positioner. And I want to know how much I'm going to be chopping off, so I'm doing this step first. But I'm going to line this up. I'm looking at either edge around the bottom. Not too worried about the top because that will get snipped. But I just want there to be a equidistant border everywhere. That looks lovely. Now my sentiment. Right into spring. So I'm going to get my little chomper so that I have a nice straight line. I'm going to push my yellow all the way up to the edge there and chomp that down. I wasn't very happy about that. Perhaps don't use a chomper. Okay, that's fine, we'll cover that over. So when we lay this here, we haven't covered over too much of our really pretty paper, because that's always very sad when that happens. And now I've got to work out what I'm going to cover over this mess with. It's just an opportunity, isn't it? Should we just use... Easy as that, isn't it? This was a piece of waste from the previous card. This is why I never throw anything away, because you never know when it may become useful. And if you're going to use a little guillotine for a big job, you will certainly need to keep all of your scraps lying around. Okay, so let's now use the edge of the white to trim that away. And we've now covered over that mess that I made. Okay, or you could just trim it further. Yeah, there's lots of options. Peel offs, lots and lots of ideas. But very pretty bicycle. We have some yellow. And we are going to stamp our sentiment Ride into Spring. And we are going to use Lucky Clover. It's going to look very green. Yeah, it's going to look very green, that's all there is to say. But I don't want to do pink and it not show. I don't want to do yellow because we've done yellow. But what I am going to do, yeah, that green is going to look really nice. Get my head over the top, give it a nice ink. Ride into Spring. There is a bicycle there, I promise. Not that you can see it, but it is there. So, Ride into Spring. And now, we lift this panel. We have this left over. Okay, so let's get this lifted. Pop that there for later. I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to use some really, really big scissors. And I'm going to take my time. There we go. I didn't like the yellow. It was a fix, but it was creating a border that I didn't want there to be. So now I'm going to turn my card upside down. And I'm going to place this in the middle. I am a by eye kind of gal. By all means, use your grid mats if it makes you happy. But Ride into Spring. And then we are going to use some of the really pretty little bits of bling. We will use a couple of gems on the bicycle wheel centre there and at the back as well. And then we're going to use a rose on that front basket, or do we want to just tuck it round? Oh, decisions, decisions. What I will do is I'm going to make the bicycle more pink. I'm going to use RV01 because the water didn't do enough. So I'm just going to pull a little bit of pink along that bicycle frame. And because this bit is lifted up, it doesn't matter if it bleeds through the back. And I'm just going along those lines, going around where the pedal sits and the connectors to the wheels and the seat. We'll make the seat a bit more pink. I'm not doing anything fancy, I'm not doing any shading or anything like that at all. Just making that sit out a little bit more. Right. You don't want to see the side of the desk. I'm going to call that done. Now, we are going to work on the light balance in this room. so that you get to enjoy spun sugar as much as I do, because I really like this card and I don't think you can see it well enough to be able to say that you like it. And that's exactly what I'm here for, is your comments of, that's wonderful. Should we ground the bicycle quickly? Little bit of the palest of greys under the front and the back wheel. That's the CG1. CG3, just on the direct underneath part. Sadly, you'll see the grey better than you'll see the bicycle. However, we have made 2 cards with predominantly stamping. I appreciate I used a bit of pattern paper here, but we've stamped our bicycle and we've done some fun die cutting, because usually we make an effort to not chop off half the stamping, but I do think that having it off to the side like that just adds a little bit of something different. And this is one of my favourite layouts. I love a circle because it draws your eye in. You create a really pretty little pattern around the outside and you have your focal point sitting there on the white. You open both your cards up and you have white on the inside ready to be written in. You don't need to add anything extra. However, I will, because we mentioned it, pop this tiny little bit of pattern paper just along the inside at the bottom, not quite on the base. And would you believe it, I haven't used a single peel off today. I can't even tell you the last time that happened. Right, I'm remembering at this point, if you like the video, please click like. We love the hearts, we love the comments, but the likes actually really help us out. They help the channel out. We have got lots of fun and exciting things coming up. On Tuesday, we are going to be live. I will be trying to do 10 cards in 20 minutes. And when I say trying, we usually believe failing. I think I have a 25% success rate. That's right, isn't it? I think, maybe. I think I've managed it once. 5%, that's mean. Anyhow, we are releasing next Friday as well. So we won't be live, sorry, next Thursday, goodness. So we won't be live next Thursday evening, but you do get release day instead. So I feel like that's a good trade-off. We have got some wonderful sneak peeks coming your way. And we have a brand new product as well. Things shipped along with your April kits. Very excited for that class. We will be making 10 cards and I will be explaining to you how, once you've used all the lovely bits in your kit, how you will feel confident to create your own masculine cards. The important little secrets, the little behind the scenes bits that I try to keep in mind. And that kit's going to be jam-packed. It's going to be papers, ephemera, the usuals, but you've got stamps, dies, embossing folder. Yeah, it's a really beautiful collection and I'm very excited for that class. I'm doing it all in one day, which means that you can pause me if you want to. You can take a break, but that's going to be in early May. Oh, we've got so many wonderful things coming up. On the homepage on our website, if you scroll down, we have got an events area. So we've got my in-person classes are going to be listed there. We've got the Let's Make It Manly class, the Flip Flap Folio. That's the end of this month going up. So, oh, here we go. He's a good lad. So Flip Flap Folio is the 28th of March. Then we have Carnival on the 10th of April, where we have a booth. And if you are in Calgary, much less Alberta or anybody else, and you want to travel, let me know. But it's our first pop-up shop where we're going to be having all of our kits and our peel-offs, and I'll be sitting there demonstrating and looking forward to chatting with everyone. We have our Crop and Class, which is my first in-person event, hosting by myself and my lovely friend Jana. And I will be teaching 2 lessons, one on the Friday and one on the Saturday. And then, yes, we have our Let's Make It Manly. But the version Liam has is not showing it. but it is there. So thank you ever so much for joining me this evening. You certainly make it all worthwhile. Thank you. And I very much look forward to seeing all of your lovely mates, because we've been checking the tracking and I think almost everybody has got their Blush and Bloom kit now. So I want to see some cards. I want to see your makes. Until next time, thank you ever so much for sticking with me till the end, and please make something beautiful. Bye.